Number one is just simply raise your intelligence, raise your IQ. Now, when I say that, a lot of folks are thinking, no, you can't actually raise your intelligence because that's genetic. But hang on a second. Now, what we're talking about are these secret ways to defeat the narcissist in your life, and one of them is to become smarter. But a lot of folks think you can't do that. Well, before you draw that conclusion, you might want to stop and consider this thing called the Flynn effect and realize that, the world population is getting dumber. I mean, their IQs collectively, or IQ collectively, is actually going down. So as technology improves and things become simpler, at the same time, people are getting dumber. Now, what is causing that? Some people will say, well, maybe it is technology that we don't have to think like we used to. It's possible. And if that is one of the reasons why our IQ is lowering, maybe we need to start thinking more. But you know what I think it might be? And again, I don't really know. But I'm just guessing. I've noticed that there is a correlation, not necessarily causation, but there is a correlation between the world getting fatter. Yeah, I actually said it. The world population is getting chubbier, better word, and at the same time they're getting dumber. Is there a correlation? I mean, is getting dumber making us more obese, or is being more obese making us dumb? I think the latter is probably more accurate. That we're just not eating good food. Now, we live in a weird time in human history because throughout the thousands and thousands of years, there's never been a time like we're living in today. And if I had to pick a time to live, it'd be today because of the technology, because of the advancements in healthcare, whatever. But it's also the one time in human history when poor people have been overweight, when there's been an epidemic of having too much food. I mean, throughout all of human history, it's been the other way around. The biggest concern was not having enough to eat, and starvation was a perpetual problem. It wasn't a crisis that a nation would face now and again, but it was something that occurred every year, year after year. If you didn't raise crop in the summertime, you could possibly starve to death in the wintertime. Now imagine that you decided to take a cruise to Europe. Now, let's do it backwards. Let's take a cruise from Europe to the United States. And there's this boat, this cruise ship, and, up to half of the people who take the cruise die before they get to the United States. Well, if you go back in history, I mean, not that long ago, those ships that carried people to the New World, as they called it, their survival rate was pathetic. Because that was just the world they lived in, and it was expected. I'm going to get on this boat, we're going to go to the colonies and whatever. We could come to the USA. If you're criminal, you go to Australia. But, you go to the New World. But there's a chance you're going to die, you know that. There's a chance you're going to die if you stay put. So what? I mean, that's the way the world was. But today, no, we just have too much food, and we're getting obese, and it's hurting our metabolic health. But I think it's also lowering IQs. Now, so you want to have the secret weapon to fight the narcissist? Raise your IQ. How are you going to raise your IQ? Well, we'll talk about this in a little more detail in a few moments, but number one is just eat food. Well, yeah, we do that. We go to the grocery store and we buy all this manufactured food. That's not food, that's just stomach filler. You need food that will improve your metabolic health. Where do you find that? Well, you get on the internet and study. It's what I did. People ask me, how did you lose over 100 pounds? I say, diet and exercise. And by the way, you can't outrun a bad diet. So you got to focus on diet. And yeah, there is science out there that says if you eat right, you be smarter. And one of the ways you can outsmart a narcissist, strange as it may sound, is eat right, eat better. Number two is human patterns, or more specifically, study human patterns. Study successful people. There are some people out there who are just unfazed by narcissists. They just blow them aside like they run over a speed bump 90 miles an hour. Maybe they've got something about their vehicle, that they got the shock absorbers. The narcissists are just, they're not even a factor. They don't bother them. Who are these people? And how can they be so successful? What I want to do is I want to study those people and find what is their mindset inversely. There are some people who are just destroyed by narcissists. It's amazing how easy they are for narcissists to get to them and for narcissists to successfully hurt them. And I'm one of those people. So what I want to do is I want to study human patterns of people who are successful in defeating narcissists, people who have not been successful in defeating narcissists, or at least not as successful as others. And more importantly, I want to study myself. I want to ask myself, why is it that I am so susceptible to the wiles of narcissists? And one of the reasons we already mentioned is because IQ, intelligence, yeah, well, I've got to admit it. We got to focus where truth is. Number 3, let's call this one brain input. One way to defeat a narcissist is to talk to yourself. Why? Well, for one, the narcissist is talking to you. And about you, by the way, behind your back. And the things that he or she says to you typically are designed for one reason, and that is to feed the ego of the narcissist. They're not trying to build you up. They're trying to build themselves up. How do you counter that? What is the secret? Well, talk to yourself, You got to be honest, by the way. I'm going to say positive things to myself that I wish other people would say to me. Why not say it to myself? Now, again, you got to be honest, though. I could say to myself, man, you are so attractive. Well, that's going to last until I look into a mirror and say, well, I'm lying to myself. I'm no better than a narcissist, because that's what a narcissist was. The original narcissist, he was the guy who thought he was attractive when he looked into the water. So was a reflection. So we need to put things into our brain that are accurate. And I want people to be truthful with me. I want them to help me, to be constructive in their criticism, but not too much, because when people try to be constructive, people love to be offered constructive criticism. Really, they just try to be critical and give themselves a pat on the back for seeing some flaw that you didn't see. Okay, that's a narcissistic behavior. And I don't want to be narcissistic to myself, do I? No. But I do want to talk to myself. I want to be honest. I want to be uplifting to myself. I want to say, I can do this. What's the first thing we talked about? Raising our IQ by focusing on what we eat, how much we eat, diet, exercise. Talk to yourself and say, you know what? I can do that. And in so doing, you probably never thought, at least I never did until I put this list together, that was a good strategy for whooping a narcissist, defeating a narcissist. That takes us to number 4, which is kind of a reflection of what we already talked about, and that is embrace truth. What we want to do is we want to take our thoughts, my opinion, take our thoughts, and we want to focus on real thoughts and real actions that are based on truth. Now, we got to keep in mind, what are there? 8 billion, over 8 billion people on the planet. Randomly choose any 2 people from anywhere on earth, put them together, and what you'll discover is they're not in total agreement on everything all the time. So what is truth? Nobody seems to know. But what we need to do is we need to still not shy away from it or shirk away from it, because it's kind of not really, there is no real consensus on what truth is. But still, there are some things that are true, and one of the things that are true, for example, is the law of gravity. Okay, for some reason we keep going back to diet and exercise, but let's don't talk about that. We want to focus on truth, and then we want to align our thoughts and our actions with what we know to be true. Here's an example. I've talked about this in other videos, but have you ever lost something like a phone, a cell phone, lost your keys, maybe lost your wallet, and somebody stole it? You just know it. You don't know who, but you're pretty sure you know who. And in your mind, you start coming up with a scenario. How did this person get to my wallet or my keys or my cell phone or whatever it is they took? Then you find it. You find your keys, you find your wallet, or you find your cell phone. And then you realize that all that imagination that you had about somebody else stealing your stuff wasn't true. I don't know about you, but it doesn't even occur to me when I have those episodes to stop and think is maybe it's just lost. And by the way, I'll throw this in just as a bonus. I found this to be true in my life. But if you lose something and you want to find it, go buy a new one. And as soon as you buy a new one, then you find the one you lost. That's the way it seems to be. Okay, that's not true, but it seems to be. Number 5, we talked about brain input. Let's talk about brain output. There's some thoughts that kind of like demons that need to be exercised or need to be run out of our brain. Demons of doubt, demons of rumination. Things I did when I was like a preteen. Probably the dumbest things I did in my life, I did in that where I was trying to learn to grow up, And I would do some really stupid things. And those are still in my mind. They still implant doubt. I still ruminate about them. And a moment ago, we were talking about people, successful people who view narcissists as, kind of speed bumps that they don't hardly even notice. And a lot of times they don't even slow down for them. Why is that? Well, it's because they don't have demons of doubt. Demons of doubt are things that are attractive to narcissists. If they see you, the way that you walk, the way that you talk, the way that you behave, if you seem to be a person who doubts himself or herself, you, my friend, are a target for the narcissist. You're the wounded gazelle. Yeah, that they see that, they sense that as being wounded. But if we could exercise those demons of doubt so that it's unconscious, that we walk differently, that we talk differently, that we behave around others differently because we no longer are doubting ourselves, guess what? The narcissist is going to pick up on that. Because brain output, we kicked it out of our brains. We cast out the demons of doubt. We cast out the demons of rumination, of those dumb things that we did, and all of us have done dumb things, right? We're not going to deny it. Remember, we want to align our thinking with truth, but we don't have to ruminate on it. We don't have to park there forever. Number 6 is game theory. Yeah, game theory. One of the ways that you can defeat, let me rephrase that, one of the primary ways, or maybe the primary way to defeat narcissists is through game theory. And game theory is simply, best way to describe it is to anticipate what other people are going to do. You got to know people to do this, but a good example of game theory is playing chess. I don't play chess. I probably should, but I don't know how, and I've got things to do, I've got all kinds of excuses. Maybe that's a demon I need to get out of my brain, but game theory simply means like playing chess. You're anticipating what the other person will do. That is so valuable in business. When I had my business, we would do what are called A/B tests. We would try this advertising and that advertising, go with the one that worked the best, because it would tell us what people are thinking. And then we do it again. Always refining, always getting better at our marketing skills. So when it comes to dealing with narcissists, we need to take control, take the reins, start doing some A/B tests on these things and see what works best. Just like playing chess. We have this defeatist attitude that the narcissist has a chain around our neck and they're just kind of dragging us around wherever they want us to go. And you know what? A lot of times, figuratively speaking, that's true. That is because they are anticipating what we're going to do because they see us as the wounded gazelle. And we're not doing the same to them. Well, it's time to change that. Game theory. Try to determine by observation an anticipation of the moves of narcissists. And that's why we have this channel, is we talk about those things. We know what they're going to do. We just know because it's a thought pattern. They're in the cycle. and they repeat it over and over. Okay, what are they going to do? I'll tell you what they're going to do. Number one, they're going to take advantage of you so they can use you for ego boosting supply. Number two, they're going to discard you at some point. Number three, they're going to engage in this thing that I forget what you call it, but they're happy that they hurt you. What do they call that? I can't remember. I'll think about it. I'll think of it in a second. And then I can tell you what they're going to do: smear campaign. Okay, you're playing chess. You know they're going to have a smear campaign. Now stop and think about how you're going to deal with that. That is game theory. Are you ready for number 7? Because you're not going to like this one. We already touched on it, but number 7 is exercise and diet. Okay, I know what you're saying. I can read your mind. Game theory. You're saying, Ken, what in the world does that have to do with disabling narcissists? Well, what we need to understand is when we control not our weight, but control our excess fat, it affects our metabolic health. We're healthier. When we're healthier, we're, like we said in number 1, our mental attributes improve. And that's what we need to fight narcissists. So indirectly, well, maybe, but stop and think of food as a medication. The benefits of eating properly and exercise. Again, people ask me, how did you lose over 100 pounds? The answer: 2 things: diet and exercise. So if you could take the benefits just of exercise and put it in a bottle and sell it, you'd become a billionaire overnight. But guess what? It's free. You can go out and take a walk, unless you're physically unable, but you can go out and take a walk anytime that you have time. I do it every day. I don't know when I've missed 3 miles every single day. Am I going to live forever? No, I don't think so. But I'm going to do it because that improves my metabolic health. It helps my mental health. And the narcissist sees me and knows that I live a disciplined life, and they don't want to mess with people who are disciplined. And not only that, it helps to ward off the narcissist, but it also helps me at the same time. Diet, how hard is this? Go into a grocery store. Where is the food in the grocery store? You say, well, it's full of food. Is it? Seriously? It's full of consumables, but what is food? Food is something that feeds your body nutrition. And if it's not nutritional, it's not food. It's a consumable. Maybe taste good, maybe savory. Maybe something that the people who invented it decided that, this is really palatable. People are going to buy it because they think it tastes good. Hyper palatable food. Yeah, potato chips and all that stuff. Ice cream. I eat those things, but that's not the mainstay of my diet. So what we do when it comes to food, and again, we're not talking about diet and exercise. We're talking about fending off narcissists. I know I'm not getting off track here, but thing we need to keep in mind about food and exercise is you can't outrun a bad diet. And if you're, when you go to a grocery store, all the junk's in the middle. So go to the outer edges of the grocery store. Go to the produce section, go to the meat section. If you're a vegan, I'm sorry, but go to the meat section. Get the real food that hasn't been processed. What that will do is that will enhance your stamina, enhance your, as we said already a couple times, your mental ability. That's what you need to ward off narcissists. So these are things that, we didn't even think of. Okay, I'm going to fight a narcissist. I'm going to eat healthy. I mean, who says that? But that's reality. Remember we talked earlier about embracing truth? That is truth. Got it. All right. Number 8 is GET. K-U-W. That's an acronym. It stands for 3 words. K, knowledge. U, understanding. W, wisdom. First thing you do is get knowledge. So let's say you want to be a physician. So you want to got to have knowledge. and then you go and you learn at a university. But you got to understand what you're learning. Having knowledge and not understanding what they're talking about. I mean, you could rotely memorize words, I guess, but if you don't know what they mean, because most of them are in Latin anyhow, or Greek, what good is that? So you've got knowledge, you got understanding, then you need wisdom. Wisdom. Well, wisdom is when you take what you know and understand and apply it. So, okay, you've got your MD, you went to college, got your doctorate degree, spent 10 years, and when you get your diploma, what do? You go get a job at Walmart or McDonald's, or maybe you want to drive a truck. Well, if that's what you want to do, it's okay, I guess, but wisdom is applying what you know and understand. So being a physician, how do you apply that driving a truck? Well, I guess if you're in a wreck, it probably would help. But outside of that, nah. So what we're talking about is we need to get knowledge, we need to get understanding, and we need to apply what we know and understand. That's what you're doing right now. Yeah, because you're watching this video so you can get knowledge, so you can get understanding. You're doing it. Congratulations. But are you going to apply it? So the whole idea behind watching YouTube videos, and by the way, I spend 20 minutes in a sauna every single day. Usually after dark when I've got some free time, 20 minutes in the sauna up to 200 degrees Fahrenheit. That's like 95 degrees Celsius. You know what I do when I'm in there? I don't just sit and sweat because that's not fun. What I do is I turn on YouTube. 20 minutes. I watch videos for 20 minutes. Educational videos most of the time. Sometimes I'll watch these real life mysteries, crime videos. They're not very educational. Unless I get called down to the police department. I want to know how to talk to the cops. Then I guess it's educational. But here I am in my 70s. I've never had that experience before, and I probably never will, so that's really not educational, just entertainment. It's okay to be entertained, to be relaxed a little bit, but we need to get knowledge and we need to get understanding, and you get that from doing what you're doing right now. But if you don't apply what you learn, and I know when I go through these 9 things, people say, what's that got to do with narcissism? Well, do you have understanding? Apparently not, if that's what you're thinking, but I don't think most people think that way. But once you get that understanding, these things are principles that will actually help me work to defeat narcissists. And so you apply them. That's wisdom. I don't give out advice. What I do is I just give out ideas. You can take them or leave them. I give advice to myself. That's it. You can listen in, you can discover what I've learned, and that's fine, but you need to be your own best advisor. Number 9. I didn't know what to call this one because bucket list is already taken, and it's not the same thing. This is a deathbed list. This is after you fulfilled your bucket list. This is, let's say you got 6 hours to live. Then you're going to die. And by the way, all of us are going to die. I hate to break that news to you, but at least if we keep the pattern going that's been going on ever since people have been alive, they've died. And that means at some point in time, there's going to be 6 hours before you die. Well, what if that time were right now? What if you knew that in 6 hours you're going to die? And you were to ask yourself this question, looking back on my life, what was truly important? That puts things in perspective. Well, you're not dying, right? I hope not. But you've got that mindset now. And so those are the things you need to focus on. This is just my opinion, but the things that I want to focus on are the things that I'm going to cherish 6 hours before I die. Things that I'm going to say, glad I did that. Glad I went out to eat with my wife. Glad I hung out with these people. Glad I made those videos, and do more of that stuff. Thanks for stopping by. We'll see you all next time.